The diamond caught the light as Mark slipped it onto my finger, but all I could focus on was his mother's face in my peripheral vision. That subtle downturn of her mouth, the way her eyes narrowed just slightly, like she was watching someone track mud across her imported Persian rugs. I'm Ingrid, and this is the story of how I lost everything I thought I wanted, only to gain something better. My self-respect. It's perfect, I whispered, though the words felt hollow. Mark beamed, completely oblivious to his mother's disapproval. The restaurant's private dining room sparkled with candlelight, and the champagne flowed freely. Everything looked perfect on the surface, like most things in the Davidson family. "Welcome to the family, dear," Celeste said, her voice dripping with the kind of sweetness that makes your teeth ache. She reached across the table and patted my hand. "Though, of course, you'll have quite a few traditions to learn. Skylar was always so good with those." And there it was, the first mention of Mark's ex-girlfriend, right on schedule. I forced my smile to stay in place as Mark's father, Truman, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mother," Mark warned, but his tone carried no real authority. It never did when it came to Celeste. "What? I'm simply saying that there's a learning curve to joining our family. Isn't that right, darling?" She turned to her husband, who suddenly became very interested in his wineglass. Over the next few weeks, the helpful suggestions kept coming. My marketing career wasn't quite as prestigious as Skylar's law practice. My apartment, though perfectly nice, wasn't in quite the right neighborhood. Even my hair. Apparently Skylar wore hers longer, more elegant. "You're being paranoid," Mark said when I tried to talk to him about it. "Mother's just trying to help. She wants you to fit in." I should have seen it coming at the family brunch. Celeste was in rare form, holding court at the head of the table while her personal chef served eggs Benedict on her grandmother's china. "So, I've been thinking about the perfect way to welcome Ingrid properly," Celeste announced, dabbing her lips with a monogrammed napkin. "You know the Mediterranean cruise we've been discussing. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Ingrid sponsored it? As a gesture of commitment to the family?" The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. "I'm sorry, what?" "Oh, it's a tradition," Sienna, Mark's sister, chimed in. "New family members always make some grand gesture. Daddy bought Mum that summer house in the Hamptons before they got married." "That's different," I said carefully. Truman was established in his career then. "Are you saying you're not established, dear?" Celeste's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I thought your little marketing business was doing well." "It is," I replied, my voice tight. "But then it's settled." Celeste clapped her hands together. "I'll have my assistant send you the details. We're thinking the royal suite, of course. For the whole family." I turned to Mark, waiting for him to say something. Anything. He just smiled and squeezed my hand under the table. "It'll be amazing, babe. Our first real family vacation together." Later that night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the email from Celeste's assistant. The invoice attached made my stomach drop. $74,000, the exact amount I had in savings, down to the last $100. There was no way that was a coincidence. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Mum's so excited about the cruise. She says it's going to be the perfect way to really make you one of us. Love you." I thought about those savings. Every double shift at the campus coffee shop, every freelance project I took on while my college roommates went out partying, every bonus I'd saved instead of spent. 6 years of work, of building something for myself. My hands shook as I opened my banking app. The numbers stared back at me. $74,132.57. My future, my security, my independence, all being demanded as a gesture of commitment by people who couldn't even remember how I took my coffee after 2 years of Sunday brunches. Another text came through, this time from Celeste. "Dear, we'll need to book by Friday to secure the royal suite. I assume that won't be a problem." I looked at my engagement ring, watching it catch the light just like it had that night at the restaurant. Behind its sparkle, I finally saw the truth. It wasn't a symbol of love, but a down payment on my submission. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Nicole, my best friend. "Hey, you've been quiet. Everything okay?" I took a deep breath and typed back. "Can you come over? I need to talk." What happened next would change everything, but not in the way the Davidsons expected. $74,000? Nicole paced my living room, wineglass in hand. Are you kidding me? That's not a commitment test. That's financial abuse. I sat curled up on my couch, clutching a throw pillow. Maybe I'm overreacting. Mark says, "Stop." Nicole set her glass down with a sharp clink. "Stop defending him. What does your gut tell you?" The question hit me hard. I closed my eyes, remembering the summer before college when my car broke down. I'd worked overtime at the diner for 3 months straight to afford repairs, serving plates of eggs to hungover students while my feet ached. My gut tells me they knew exactly how much money I had, I said quietly. They've been asking about my finances for months, little comments here and there about my investments, my business. Gathering intel, Nicole nodded. And let me guess, Mark just sat there while his mother demanded your life savings? He seemed excited about it, my voice cracked, called it our first family vacation. Some family. Nicole pulled out her phone. You know what? I'm calling Jeremy. Jeremy Griffin, from college. He's a realtor now, specializes in luxury properties. She was already dialing. And if I remember correctly, he works in that coastal town the Davidsons are always bragging about. The one with the inn they've been eyeing? I sat up straighter. Nicole's eyes met mine, a slow smile spreading across her face. Exactly. 20 minutes later, Jeremy's voice filled my living room through the speakerphone. That property is actually still available. The Lighthouse Inn, beautiful place, right on the cliffs. The Davidsons have been sniffing around it for years, but they never pulled the trigger. What's the asking price? I asked. $75,000 for a down payment would get you started. The rest could be financed with your business credentials. He paused. But Ingrid, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I am. My voice was steadier than I expected. Can you get me a viewing tomorrow? The next morning, I stood on the inn's wraparound porch, breathing in salt air and possibility. The white clapboard building gleamed in the morning sun, its lighthouse tower reaching toward blue skies. Inside, original hardwood floors creaked pleasantly under my feet as Jeremy showed me through sunny rooms with ocean views. The current owners are motivated to sell, he explained. They're retiring, want someone who'll preserve the inn's character. I ran my hand along a weathered wooden banister. The Davidsons plan to gut it, turn it into a modern resort. I know. Jeremy's expression was carefully neutral. They've shared their vision with every realtor in town. Very ambitious plans. My phone buzzed. Another text from Celeste. Dear, the cruise line needs an answer today. Shall I have my assistant contact your bank directly? The audacity of that message made something snap inside me. I turned to Jeremy. How fast can you draw up an offer? I can have the paperwork ready in an hour. He studied my face. Are you sure about this? It's a big move. I've never been more sure. I looked out over the ocean, remembering every dismissive comment, every comparison to Skylar, every time Mark chose his mother's approval over my feelings. They want my savings. Fine, but I'll spend it my way. Back at my apartment that evening, I stared at the signed offer papers on my coffee table. Nicole sat beside me, both of us silent until she finally spoke. You know they're going to lose their minds, right? I nodded. Good. Mark's going to try to talk you out of it? He can try. I picked up my phone and typed a response to Celeste. I'm afraid I'll have to decline the cruise. I've decided to make a different kind of investment in my future. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared. My phone rang. Mark's number. I let it go to voicemail. There's no going back after this, Nicole warned. Are you ready for that? I thought about the inn, about its solid bones and sweeping views, about how it had survived countless storms, standing proud and unchanged while waves crashed against the cliffs below. Maybe that's what I needed to be, not the perfect Davidson bride, but something weathered and real and entirely my own. My phone buzzed again. Jeremy's message read, Deadline to submit the offer is midnight. Should I pull the trigger? I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in months. Make it, I typed back. Nicole raised her wine glass. To burning bridges. I clinked my glass against hers. To building something better from the ashes. As I hit send on the offer, I swore I could already smell the salt air of my future, and it smelled nothing like submission. I knew something was wrong the moment I walked into the Davidson estate for Sunday dinner. There was an extra place setting at the table, Waterford crystal and fine china, arranged with the same precise attention as the rest of the settings. Before I could ask, the front door opened again. "Skylar, darling, you made it!" Celeste's voice carried through the foyer, warm and genuine in a way it had never been for me. My stomach dropped as Mark's ex-girlfriend glided into the dining room. She was exactly as I remembered from the photos that still dotted the house, tall, elegant, and wearing the kind of casual confidence that only comes from old money. "Ingrid," she smiled, air-kissing my cheek. "How lovely to see you again." "Again?" I raised an eyebrow. "We've never actually met." An awkward silence fell over the room. Mark cleared his throat. "Skylar's been in Europe for the past few years. She just moved back to town." "Perfect timing," Celeste beamed, ushering everyone to their seats. "Just in time for all the wedding planning." I watched as Skylar took her seat, directly across from Mark, of course. The casual way she reached for the wine, knowing exactly which crystal decanter held the red, spoke volumes about her history here. "Speaking of perfect timing," Sienna piped up, "Skylar, didn't you and Mark always talk about buying that inn on the coast? The one with the lighthouse?" Mark choked on his wine. Skylar's smile flickered for just a moment. "Ancient history," she said lightly. "Though it was a beautiful dream. Mark and I had such plans for that place." "Still do," Celeste added. "Once the family acquires it, of course. These things take time and strategic planning." The look she gave me made her meaning clear. My savings were part of that strategic plan. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need some air." I headed for the powder room, but stopped short when I heard voices from Truman's study. "She's not right for him," Celeste was saying. "She'll never understand our world, our aspirations. Skylar and Mark might still find their way back to each other once this phase ends." "Be patient, dear," Truman replied. "These things have a way of working themselves out." I pressed my back against the wall, heart pounding. A hand touched my arm, making me jump. "They're exhausting, aren't they?" Sienna stood there, looking unusually serious. "Come with me." She led me to the garden, where we could talk privately. "You should know something. That inn? It wasn't just a dream for Skylar and Mark. It was their backup plan." "Backup plan?" "Skylar's family lost everything in a scandal a few years ago. That's why she went to Europe, to escape the fallout. She and Mark had this whole future mapped out, including buying that inn together. It was supposed to be their fresh start." I thought about the offer I'd just submitted. "What happened?" "Mother happened." Sienna plucked a rose, twirling it between her fingers. She found out about Skylar's family's financial troubles, and suddenly, the perfect girlfriend wasn't so perfect anymore. Mark chose family loyalty over love. Now that Skylar's back, they're trying again, I finished, with my money. "Smart girl." Sienna smiled grimly. "Why do you think Mother's been so insistent about that cruise? Once your savings are spent, you'll be dependent on family support, just like Skylar would have been." Back at the dinner table, I watched Mark and Skylar with new eyes, the way they avoided looking directly at each other, the tension in Mark's shoulders whenever she spoke. This wasn't just about money or status. This was about unfinished business. "More wine, dear?" Celeste offered, hovering over my glass. "No, thank you," I smiled, thinking about the inn's keys that would soon be mine. "I need to keep a clear head. Lots of important decisions coming up." "Oh?" Skylar leaned forward. "Do tell." "Just some investment opportunities," I said vaguely. "Sometimes the perfect opportunity comes along, and you have to seize it." Mark frowned. "You haven't mentioned any investments to me." "Haven't I?" I met his gaze steadily. "I guess we all have our little secrets." The rest of dinner passed in a blur of meaningful glances and loaded comments. As we left, Skylar caught my arm. "You know, Ingrid," she said softly, "Mark's proposal to you was quite the surprise to everyone, almost as if it was orchestrated to secure a financial ally, perhaps." She released my arm and walked away, leaving me with the distinct feeling that I'd just been warned. But about what? Mark's true motives or her own plans? Either way, I thought, as I drove home, they were all about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the wrong person. My phone lit up with Jeremy's message at 7 a.m. Offer accepted. Wire the funds today, and the inn is yours. My hands shook as I initiated the transfer. Watching my savings drain away felt like free-falling, but somehow I'd never felt more in control. Done, I texted back. Congratulations, property owner, he replied. Want to see what else I found? An hour later, I sat in his office, staring at the documents spread across his desk. Tax records, property assessments, and loan applications, all related to the Davidson family. These were public record, Jeremy explained. I did some digging after our last conversation. Look at the debt-to-income ratios. I scanned the numbers, my marketing brain quickly putting the pieces together. They're overextended. Severely. The family's been living on reputation and credit for years. That cruise they wanted you to fund, it would have been their first family vacation in 3 years. But they always seem so... I trailed off, remembering the fresh flowers delivered weekly, the imported wines, the staff. Smoke and mirrors, Jeremy said. They've been trying to buy the inn for years, but no bank would approve the loan. That's where you came in. My savings would have been the down payment they couldn't afford, I realised. They never intended to pay me back. Bingo. Jeremy leaned back. And here's the kicker. Look at the signature on these loan applications. I looked closer. That's Celeste's signature, not Truman's. She's been running the show for years. Truman lost most of their fortune in a bad investment back in 2008. She's been desperately trying to maintain their lifestyle ever since. A knock at the door made us both jump. Jeremy's assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a woman here insisting on seeing you. Says her name is Skylar? My heart stopped. Jeremy looked at me questioningly. Let her in, I said. This should be interesting. Skylar swept in, looking impossibly put together for this early hour. Her surprise at seeing me was barely concealed. Ingrid? What a coincidence. She turned to Jeremy. I'm here about the Lighthouse Inn. I understand it's back on the market? Jeremy's poker face was perfect. I'm afraid you're mistaken. The inn just sold. The colour drained from Skylar's face. That's impossible. To whom? I'm afraid that's confidential until closing, Jeremy said smoothly. Skylar's composure cracked. Listen, that property was promised to me. Mark and I had an understanding with the owners. Funny, I interrupted. I thought you said that dream was ancient history? She whirled on me, mask finally dropping. You don't understand what you're involving yourself in. That inn was supposed to be my second chance. Mark promises a lot of things, I cut in. To a lot of people, apparently. Skylar's laugh was bitter. You think you're special? That he chose you? Wake up, Ingrid. The proposal was Celeste's idea. They needed someone successful enough to be useful, but naive enough to be controlled. I was supposed to be that person. Before my family's scandal, you were just... convenient. The words should have hurt, but instead, they felt like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. Thank you, Skylar, I said calmly. For what? For confirming what I already suspected. I gathered my papers. Jeremy, I'll see you at the closing. Closing? Skylar's voice rose. What closing? What have you done? I paused at the door, turning back to face her. I made an investment in my future, just not the one Celeste had in mind. Back in my car, I let out a shaky breath. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Mark and a text from Celeste. Dear, about the cruise payment. We really must finalise the arrangements today. I started my car just as Skylar burst out of Jeremy's office. Through my rearview mirror, I watched her frantically dialing her phone. Within minutes, my phone lit up with Mark's call again. This time, I answered. Is it true? He demanded. Did you buy the inn? Shouldn't you be asking Skylar why she was trying to buy it behind your back? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Goodbye, Mark. I ended the call and blocked his number. Then Celeste's, then Skylar's. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from Nicole. How did it go? I smiled, thinking of the stack of documents in my passenger seat. Documents that proved the Davidsons' perfect world was built on quicksand, and I'd just pulled out the final supporting beam. It went exactly as planned, I replied. Want to help me redesign a lighthouse? The sun was rising over the city as I drove home, painting the sky the same shade of pink as the roses in Celeste's garden. But unlike those carefully cultivated flowers, I was done being pruned into someone else's ideal. It was time to grow wild. Randall Kennedy speaking? I adjusted my phone, making my voice higher, breezier. Hi, I'm calling about wedding venues in the coastal area. A friend mentioned you're the go-to expert? Ah, yes. The family's trusted real estate agent perked up immediately. I specialize in luxury properties along the coast. What kind of venue were you thinking? Something historic, maybe. I heard there's a beautiful inn with a lighthouse. Randall's sigh was heavy. The Lighthouse Inn? Yes, that's a special property. Unfortunately, it just went under contract. Oh no, I feigned disappointment. I heard the Davidson family was interested in it. They're such lovely people. I was hoping to book their dream venue for my wedding. You know the Davidsons? His tone shifted, became more intimate. Yes, they've had their eye on that property for years. Mark was just asking me last week to keep him updated on its status. Between us, they'll be devastated when they hear about the sale. My grip tightened on the phone. Last week, Mark Davidson asked about it? Oh yes, said something about finally having the means to make an offer. Seemed quite confident about it. I thought about the cruise money they'd demanded, the timing of Skylar's return. The pieces clicked together like a perfect, poisonous puzzle. That's interesting, I said, my voice hardening despite my efforts to stay in character. And when exactly did he ask you to start watching the property? Let's see. Papers shuffled in the background. About 2 months ago, right around the time of his engagement, actually. He was very specific about wanting immediate updates on any price changes or interested buyers. 2 months ago. Right when Celeste started her campaign about the cruise tradition. One more question, I said. The current owners, why are they selling? Retiring. Lovely couple. They've turned down higher offers because they want someone who'll preserve the inn's character. The Davidsons had grand plans to modernize it, but the owners weren't thrilled with that vision. And what about Skylar Whitney? Did she ever make an offer? The line went quiet for a moment. I'm not at liberty to discuss other clients. Of course not. Thank you for your time, Randall. You've been incredibly helpful. I ended the call and stared at my phone, my hands shaking with a mixture of rage and vindication. A text from Jeremy popped up. Final walkthrough and closing scheduled for next Thursday, 2 days before the Davidson family gala. Perfect timing. The annual gala, where they plan to officially announce our engagement to their entire social circle. My phone rang. Nicole. Well, she asked. Did Randall spill? Everything. I stood up, pacing my apartment. They were planning this from the start. The engagement, the cruise money, all of it. They were going to use my savings to buy the inn, probably let Skylar manage it as some sort of consolation prize, while I played the dutiful wife. Those manipulative... It gets better, I cut in. The gala where they're announcing our engagement? It's 2 days after I close on the inn. Nicole's laugh was deliciously wicked. Please tell me you're still planning to attend. Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. What about Mark? He's been blowing up your phone. I glanced at my blocked calls list. Let him sweat. He's probably trying to damage control before his mother finds out. Speaking of Celeste, Nicole paused. She sent me a friend request on Facebook. She's digging for information. I smiled grimly. Accept it. Let her think everything's normal. You're scary when you're strategic, you know that? I learned from the best. I walked to my window, looking out at the city. They taught me how to play their game. They just didn't expect me to win. Another text from Jeremy. Heads up. Randall's been asking questions about the buyer. Want me to keep stonewalling? Yes, I typed back. No one knows until the ink is dry. I thought about Mark and Skylar, plotting behind my back. About Celeste, orchestrating her perfect plan. About how they all underestimated the quiet girl from the wrong side of the tracks, who worked her way up through sheer determination. Nicole, I said, want to go shopping? I need the perfect dress for a gala. Something that says, I just bought your dream property, and there's nothing you can do about it. Exactly. I grabbed my keys. Something in red, I think. the color of revenge. As I headed out, a final text came through from Sienna. "Whatever you're planning, I want a front row seat. Mother's been unbearable since you stopped answering her calls." I smiled, picturing Celeste's perfectly controlled facade cracking under the strain of uncertainty. The gala was 9 days away, and I had a feeling it would be a night the Davidson family would never forget. Let the countdown begin. "The lace overlay really complements the silhouette," the seamstress said, pinning the hem of my gala dress. "Though I'm surprised you chose red instead of white for your engagement announcement." Celeste, perched on a nearby settee, pressed her lips together. "Yes, dear. Red is such a bold choice." "I'm feeling bold lately," I replied, meeting her eyes in the mirror. A week of dodging calls and deflecting questions about the cruise money had left her perfectly maintained facade showing cracks. "Speaking of bold choices," she continued, "have you given any more thought to the family vacation? The cruise line needs an answer." "Actually, I've made several important decisions recently." I smoothed the red silk against my hips. "But let's discuss them at the gala, when everyone's together." The seamstress stuck another pin in the hem, oblivious to the tension crackling between us. "Ingrid," Celeste's voice dropped to a whisper, "whatever game you're playing needs to stop. Now." "Game?" I turned to face her. "I learned from the best, didn't I?" Her face paled slightly, but before she could respond, my phone buzzed. Jeremy's text read, "Final walkthrough tomorrow at 10 a.m. Keys at noon." "If we're done here," I said to the seamstress, "I have some packing to do." Back at my apartment, Nicole helped me sort through the items I shared with Mark. Everything went into 3 piles: keep, donate, and return. His favourite coffee mug, Nicole held up the ceramic cup. "Keep or donate?" "Donate, along with all these wedding magazines Celeste kept sending." I tossed another stack into the box. "What about the engagement ring?" I touched the diamond on my finger. "That goes back at the gala, for maximum effect." "You're evil," Nicole grinned. "I love it." The next morning, I stood in the inn's grand entrance hall, sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows. Jeremy walked me through each room one final time. "Previous owners left some furniture," he said, gesturing to the antique pieces. "They said you can keep whatever you want." I ran my hand along a weathered reception desk. "It's perfect. All of it." "Speaking of perfect," he pulled out his phone. "Randall's been calling non-stop. The Davidsons are in full panic mode. Let them panic." I walked to the lighthouse tower stairs. "They've got about 36 hours left before their world implodes." At the top of the lighthouse, I looked out over the ocean. Waves crashed against the cliffs below, constant and powerful. Like truth, I thought. You can try to hold it back, but eventually it breaks through. My phone buzzed. Mark's 10th attempt to call today, this time from a different number. I blocked it and opened my messages instead. "Just dropped off the last box at storage," Nicole texted. "Your apartment's clear, except for your gala outfit and overnight bag." Perfect timing. I sent back a lighthouse emoji. "Just finished the final walkthrough. Meeting my lawyer at noon." "How does it feel?" I took another look at the view. Like freedom. The signing took less than an hour. My lawyer handed me the keys with a smile and a warning. "Once you announce this at the gala, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to do it this way?" "They chose the battlefield," I said, clutching the keys. "I'm just choosing the weapons." That evening, I visited the inn one last time before the gala. The sunset painted the white walls gold, and the old hardwood floors creaked welcomingly under my feet. In what would become my private quarters, I found a guest book left by the previous owners. The last entry read, "Thank you for being such wonderful stewards of this magical place. Choose its next guardian wisely." Below it, I wrote, "I promise to protect its soul and let it be a lighthouse in its truest sense, a beacon of truth in the darkness." My phone lit up with a text from Sienna. "Mother's having the chef prepare your favourite dessert for the gala. She's trying so hard to pretend everything's normal. It's delicious to watch." I smiled, picturing Celeste in her kitchen, orchestrating her perfect party, unaware that in less than 2 days, her carefully constructed world would shatter like fine china on marble floors. Another text came through, this time from Jeremy. "Dee's been recorded. It's officially yours." I walked to the window, watching the first stars appear over the ocean. Tomorrow, I'd play the perfect fiancé one last time. I'd smile and make small talk and let them think they'd won. But the keys in my pocket told a different story. They were the keys to my freedom, my revenge, and my future, all wrapped up in one historic property with a view of the sea. Let them eat their perfect dessert. I'd be serving something much sweeter: justice. The Davidson estate glittered like a jewel box. Fairy lights twined through the garden, champagne flowed freely, and the string quartet played softly in the corner. I adjusted my red dress, weapon number 1, and smiled at the approaching guests. "You look stunning," Mark whispered, his hand possessive on my lower back. "Mother's thrilled you chose to be reasonable about everything." I sipped my champagne. "Oh, I'm full of surprises tonight." Across the room, Skylar held court among the society wives, wearing a pale blue dress that screamed old money. Our eyes met briefly, and her smile faltered. "There's my beautiful daughter-to-be." Celeste glided over, champagne in hand. "Everyone's so excited for the announcement. Shall we do it now?" "Actually," I said, checking my phone, "could we wait just a few more minutes? I'm expecting someone." Right on cue, the doorbell rang. Truman's butler appeared moments later, escorting Jeremy into the ballroom. He wore a crisp black suit and carried a silver envelope. "What's he doing here?" Mark's grip on my waist tightened. "Ingrid?" Celeste's voice carried a warning note. "What's going on?" I stepped away from Mark and walked to the centre of the room. The string quartet fell silent. "Since everyone's here," I projected my voice the way I did in marketing presentations, "I have an announcement to make." Celeste rushed forward. "Dear, let's discuss this in private." "No more private discussions." I turned to address the crowd. "For 2 years I've watched this family operate. I've seen how they manipulate, how they use tradition and propriety as weapons, how they demand loyalty while offering none in return." The room went deadly quiet. Skylar started edging toward the door. "Stay right there, Skylar. This involves you too." I smiled as she froze. "You see, everyone, I recently learned that my engagement was orchestrated, a business arrangement designed to access my savings that would be used to buy a certain coastal property." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Celeste's face had gone white. "The Lighthouse Inn," I continued. "A property that Mark and Skylar had originally planned to purchase together, before her family's scandal made her unsuitable. So they found a replacement. Me." "That's enough." Mark stepped forward, but I held up my hand. "Jeremy," I called, "the envelope, please." He walked forward, handing me the silver envelope with a slight bow. I pulled out the deed to the inn. "I'd like to announce that as of noon yesterday, I am the new owner of the Lighthouse Inn." The gasps were audible. Celeste swayed slightly, grabbing Truman's arm for support. "You can't," she whispered. "We had an agreement." "No, you had a plan. One that involved taking my life savings for a cruise that would leave me financially dependent on you. Instead, I invested in my own future." I turned to Mark, who stood frozen in shock. "By the way, the engagement's off." I slipped off the ring and placed it in his palm. "Consider it a down payment on your karma." "You've ruined everything," Skylar burst out. "That inn was supposed to be—" "Yours?" I laughed. "You'll have to find another meal ticket. Though I should thank you. If you hadn't tried to warn me about their plan, I might never have acted so quickly." The whispers grew louder. Social reputations were crumbling in real time. "As for the inn," I addressed the crowd again, "I'm maintaining its historic character. No modern renovations, no exclusive resort. Just a beautiful lighthouse, continuing its true purpose, warning people away from dangerous shores." Celeste finally found her voice. "You'll regret this. In our circles—" "Your circles are built on quicksand," I cut in, "and I have the tax records to prove it. Would anyone like to see them?" The silence was deafening. Even the waiters had stopped circulating. "Well then," I smiled, "I believe that concludes the announcements for tonight. Jeremy, shall we?" He offered his arm and we turned to leave. As we reached the door, Sienna called out, "Ingrid, Wait, I turned. Mark's sister hurried forward, grinning widely. That, she said, was the most magnificent thing I've ever seen. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "You have no idea what you've just started." "Oh, but I do." I squeezed her hand. "Watch your mother's social circle crumble. Watch how quickly loyalty turns to gossip. The truth has a way of spreading." As we walked out into the night, the sound of chaos erupted behind us. Raised voices, shattering glass, the death throes of carefully maintained facades. "To the inn?" Jeremy asked as we reached his car. I looked back at the glittering house, now more prison than palace. "To the inn. I think it's time to light the lighthouse." Behind us, the Davidson estate blazed with artificial light, but ahead, the real beacon waited, one that would shine with authentic purpose, warning others away from these treacherous social shores. The war was over, and I had won it with their own weapons: money, propriety, and perfect timing. The autumn breeze carried the scent of salt and coffee across the inn's terrace as I reviewed the morning's guest book entries. A couple had written, "Thank you for preserving this magical place. Its soul is still so vibrantly alive." Nicole set down 2 steaming mugs and settled into the chair beside me. "Have you seen the latest society pages?" "Do I want to?" She pulled up the article on her phone. "Prominent family estate listed following social scandal." The photo showed the Davidson mansion, a for sale sign prominent in the manicured front lawn. "Apparently," Nicole read, "Skylar's been indicted for misappropriating funds from her European non-profit. The investigation revealed some interesting connections to the Davidson family finances." "Karma works in mysterious ways," I mused, sipping my coffee. My phone buzzed. A text from Sienna. "Moving out today. Mother hasn't left her room in days. Thought you'd want to see this." Attached was a photo of the estate's for sale sign. "You know what's ironic?" Nicole set down her phone. "They wanted your money to maintain their image, but trying to take it is what destroyed them." The inn's front door chimed. Jeremy's voice carried from the reception area. "Ingrid, you have a visitor." I walked inside to find Mark standing awkwardly in the entrance hall, looking smaller somehow without his family's influence surrounding him. "The inn looks good," he said quietly. "Different than Mother's plans, but good." "What do you want, Mark?" He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "To return this." Inside was a cashier's check, the exact amount I'd spent on the engagement ring. "Keep it," I said. "Consider it the price of learning who you really are." "I deserved that." He ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. I never thought it would end like this. The family name, our reputation." "You mean the reputation built on manipulating others, on using people like me and Skylar as pawns in your mother's games?" "I loved you," he protested weakly. "No." I met his eyes steadily. "You loved the idea of me, the convenient solution to your family's problems. There's a difference." The door chimed again. A young couple walked in, carrying travel bags. "Welcome to the Lighthouse Inn," I smiled, turning away from Mark. "Checking in?" He took the hint and left quietly as I helped the couple register. Through the window, I watched him walk to his car, not the luxury sedan he used to drive, but something more modest. Later that evening, I climbed the lighthouse tower with Nicole. The sunset painted the ocean in shades of gold and pink. "I got another offer today," I said, leaning against the railing. "Some developer wants to turn this place into luxury condos." "And?" I wrote back one word. "No." Nicole smiled. "You know, when you first told me about buying this place, I thought it was just about revenge. But it's become something more, hasn't it?" Below us, guests gathered on the terrace for the evening wine tasting, a tradition I'd kept from the previous owners. Their laughter floated up on the breeze. "It's become home," I said simply. My phone buzzed with a news alert. "Socialite Skylar Whitney faces federal charges." Below it was a text from Sienna. "Father's finally standing up to Mother. Filed for divorce this morning. Thank you for showing us we had a choice." "Speaking of choices," Nicole nodded toward the horizon. "Looks like there's a storm coming." Dark clouds gathered in the distance. I walked to the lighthouse lamp and switched it on, sending its beam out across the darkening water. That's what lighthouses are for, I said. To guide people safely through the storm. The first drops of rain began to fall as we headed back down. In the guest book by the front desk, a new entry caught my eye. Found shelter from the storm here, not just from the weather, but from life itself. Thank you for keeping this lighthouse true to its purpose. I added my own entry below it. Sometimes the greatest act of revenge is simply living well and lighting the way for others. The storm rolled in properly now, rain lashing against the windows, but inside, the inn was warm and bright, filled with the sounds of genuine laughter and conversation. No pretense, no manipulation, no carefully maintained facades. You know what? Nicole said, watching the guests mingle. I think you got something better than revenge. You got freedom. I touched the inn's old brass keys in my pocket, not just keys to a building, but to the life I'd chosen for myself. Outside, the lighthouse beam cut through the darkness, steady and true, warning ships away from treacherous shores while guiding them towards safe harbour. Just like me.